Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Q&A show on Inside the Birds platform. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Avant. Q is not here today, but I'm here with one of the founders, one of the CEOs of Inside the Birds, Jeff Mosher. Jeff, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? I can only imagine the disappointment right now that all of the great Q&A listeners and viewers are having seeing me and not Quintin Mikell as your co-host. But Q had some family obligations. He's fine. He'll be back next week. This is my favorite show on Inside the Bird, so I'm honored to be a part of it. And I can guarantee you this, Jay, and the listeners, I'm not going to give any Quintin Mikell analysis. I'm not going to pretend to be Q. I'm not going to do anything to try to take his place. I won't try to look like him or talk like him or do anything like him. Not at all. I wouldn't do that kind of thing. So I'm going to leave it all to you. I'll ask the questions to you. But you know the real reason, though, why he's not here, right?
Oh, it's the Penn State, Boise State going on.
He's
Oh, the rivalry's
scared,
going on.
Jay. He's scared.
Yeah.
He's avoiding me.
Hey, you guys look good the other day.
We
You guys
look
look
yeah.
good the other day.
Defensively,
The
we
defense
look
looked
good.
really good. Yeah. Offense
Run
still
game.
working.
Run game look good. No,
All
so
right,
this should be a fun episode. But
yeah. So let me just do a little bit of house cleaning there, keeping whatever you call it. All right. So thank you guys, everyone everyone that tunes in each and every week. Thank you guys for sending in your questions. Thank you to Jeff and to Adam and everyone that makes this possible for us. We really appreciate you. And to Q, I think you're going down this week against Penn State. But we love you. We love you, buddy. All right, the Eagles.
I'll be there for him. I will be there to console him. I promise you.
The Eagles lose a heartbreaker this week, and I'm sure everyone's sad, frustrated. Jalen Hurts goes out of the game. Gardner-Johnson gets kicked out. Lose a heartbreaker 36-33 last few seconds of the game. And we're going to get into it. I'm going to turn it over to you, Jeff.
Well, let me ask you this, Jay, because this is how I wanted to start the show with you and Q anyway. Adam and I, for about, 6 weeks now, have been saying that, the Eagles might lose a game between now and the end of the year. And if they do, we personally wouldn't overreact to it because when you've already beaten the Ravens, when you've already beaten the Steelers, when you've already beat the Rams, you've beaten Washington once, like you've proven yourself to be an elite team, just like you and Q mentioned after last week's win, right? That one loss can be inevitable. And this one seemed a little fluky, in my opinion, anyway. And I'm not trying to diminish the Commanders, but I'm wondering how you see it. I mean, there's a lot of sky is falling out there, as there always is after an Eagles loss. But are you concerned for the long term, or was it just a loss to you?
I would say 90% is I'm not concerned. There's a good 10%. And I'm going to tell you why I'm not concerned, because a lot of the mistakes the Eagles made were, self-inflicted. It wasn't that they were outmanned or outcoached or out-schemed or outplayed. They made a lot of bonehead decisions. I can go down the line. I'm talking about in the tens. 11, 12 plays, a lot of them just individual players doing the wrong thing. And we haven't seen it all year. So I'm going to take the majority of the season as the real thing and say this is the anomaly. Mm-hmm. So I'm not concerned from that. I think they'll get coached up. I think they'll get everyone back. Losing Jordan Davis may be big. I don't know how bad it is. But overall, I thought a lot of the mistakes were correctable. A lot of things.
So what's the 10% then? Because you said 90%, you're pretty, it's just a loss and correctable. But is there a little, if they have to meet again, especially in the first round of the playoffs, what part of that 10% would concern you?
Well, the part of the 10% that can concern me is that now it's 2 games now that the Eagles have beat themselves. Mm-hmm. And so that's the concerning portion is that will this form of the Eagles rear its head between now and the end of the season? Because usually when you play better teams, these types of games tend to come back to haunt you, and you're more likely to commit some of these mistakes, because it just seems for like a moment the Eagles were prisoners of the moment and the momentum of the Commanders in that game. Mm-hmm. It seems like they went outside of their character to allow some of these things to occur. And usually when the teams get better, you kind of sink to the level of your preparation. So will this rear its head again because we have lost the game due to self-inflicted things? So that's the 10%. I don't worry about it too much, but I know that it's there. And I think the Eagles know that it's there, which could be a good thing that causes them to be tuned up, tightened up on their P's and Q's going forward, knowing that they can lose any ball game if they play the way they did down the stretch in that ball game.
Yeah, no doubt. I get, and that makes sense. That 10%. If you make any good team, if they make that many errors in one game, has a chance to get knocked off. And if it's a playoff game, there's no corrections the next week. You're just done. So that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about the offense. I'm a little surprised. I mean, we've been around the city forever, so we know that there's no breaks given to anybody. But Kenny Pickett, I didn't look like he played well. But I think I wanted you to sort of describe this just from a player standpoint. There's a difference between coming in a game cold as a backup when you really haven't played all year long, as opposed to when you're the backup and you have a week's preparation and then you have to play in a game. I mean, doesn't Kenny deserve a little bit of slack for just getting thrust in there at the last second and having to run the offense?
Well, I thought Kenny played well. And I'm going to be one of the only people that'll say that. The reason I say that is that you pay Jalen Hurts $60 million to win ball games. Mm-hmm. You bring Kenny Pickett in as a backup to keep you in ball games, so the team collectively can figure out a way to win games. As long as you're in every ball game, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, the offensive line, Gardner-Johnson, Jalen Carter, those people should take you to the finish line. So the backup did his job. He gave you an opportunity to win the ball game, put the ball where it was supposed to be. Devontae makes that catch, the game is over, right? So when you think of all of those things, the backup did an adequate job. Was he a world beater? No, but he played as good as any backup will in the NFL coming into a game with no preparation. And what we mean by that is that usually the backup, when he goes to practice, he's doing scout team for the defense. He's not even all the way into the playbook. He's in the quarterback's meeting, and yes, they're asking him questions, but in the back of his mind is like, Jalen Hurts not getting injured. So it's kind of hard to prep like it's your day. So if you're going against the opposing or your defense throwing interceptions for Vic Fangio because they want you to throw it to a certain guy at a certain time, it's hard to be, equipped in the moment. So I thought he did a good job. And when I say he had a few throws that were behind. Mm-hmm. One was high to AJ on the sideline, a few were behind. But even with those balls that were behind, the guy still could have made a play.
Right.
And that's when you need your guys you pay to make a play.
Sure.
And when you really look at it, he held the ball a little bit too long. He missed the zero blitz and got sacked. A.J. Brown could have, scored a touchdown easily if he drifted to the left when Dante Fowler sacked him. And he threw the interception. We're talking about 4 or 5 bad plays for a guy that didn't have any reps this entire season. I'm not holding that against him.
There you go. I mean, people may forget, but when Nick Foles had to replace Wentz against the Rams in 2017, he was 6 of 10 for 42 yards, which is not, 6 passes. But you're not supposed to look great. You're just supposed to try to hold the fort down. And then Nick didn't even have good games against the Cowboys and the Raiders. Remember, everybody was worried about Nick Foles. So I'm not.
And even the Falcons in the playoffs, the first game, it wasn't the best game.
Right. And I'm not making a comparison.
We got away with a pass interference on Julio.
And then the ball that hit Keanu's knees that went up in the air that never came. That was another one. Yeah.
And Torrey Smith caught it.
Yep. So listen, we'll see what happens with Jalen Hurts. So at least let's judge Kenny Pickett on having a week to prepare for the next opponent. Ironically, it's the Cowboys. I think that was the team that Nick had to play that week coming up. So very interesting. How about from a coaching standpoint, Jay? When coaches have to rely on the backup who gets thrust in the game, and then the backup doesn't play the same style that the starter plays. Is it incumbent upon the coaches to be a little bit more, creative with the playbook? I know some people felt that the Eagles were a little too predictable, running the ball first down a lot, when
Yeah.
Washington was clearly someone
Well, so this is why I always say that one of your backups should be just like your current starter.
out.
I'm not a big fan of having Jalen Hurts and having this style of offense, and then you got two pocket quarterbacks behind him. I always say that you need one guy that's going to mimic your quarterback, because just in case this occurs, you have options going forward, and you can either use both of the quarterbacks, but your offense doesn't have to change so drastically, right? So Jalen presents a dynamic where Jalen can keep it. So now you gain a man front side with the running back, right? So Saquon gets a better lane, gets a more favorable box, because Jalen is a running quarterback, so people don't want to play man as much. And there's a bunch of different nuance that comes along. When Kenny Pickett's in the game, now the ends are crashing, not worrying about him keeping the ball at all. How many times did Louvu beat Grand Calcaterra and another tight end across their face in that game, because they didn't have to worry about the quarterback keeping the ball at all? So now you can commit more people to the line of scrimmage. Your coverages are going to be geared to stop the run on first down. And the offense coordinator did not do much to dispel that. Here's the thing that kind of drove me nuts in that game, especially the second half of that game, is that most of the time they ran the ball on first down, and it was a tackle for loss every single time. It wasn't even to the line of scrimmage. It was a tackle for loss every single time. The times where they did opt to throw, one was batted down, but all the rest of them were successful. I'm talking about a completion down the field to A.J. Brown, 2 PIs that happened on first down, multiple positive plays when they opened up the passing game. So you have to do a little bit more. And also, what happened to run the RPO? You can have an RPO game without a running quarterback. Yes, you can. Definitely. You just can't have the read option game.
Right.
So when they're stacking a box right there, why can't we hit A.J. Brown on that slant route? Why can't we hit Devontae on the inside seam or something? Like, there's ways to get into it. I just think that the quarterback, and not the quarterback, the offensive coordinator took a little bit too long to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Couple that with a few bad plays and a couple false starts and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which drop in your mind was the most egregious? You got the A.J. Brown, the Barkley, and the Devontae Smith one.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I trust Devontae more than any receiver on our team to catch that ball.
Yeah.
And here's what I think. He's never going to come out and admit this at all. Devontae looked that ball all the way in. Let me tell you why he looked the ball all the way in. Because when you look the ball all the way in, you always get a second chance to catch it. He had multiple chances to catch that ball. Here's what I think. That's just muscle memory. When Jalen Hurts does not throw a ball at the same velocity as Kenny Pickett, that's what happens. He's running an inside slant from the slot. He kills the number one. I forget his African name. I can't remember his name. It's like Obini, something like that.
We call him Iggy. No, Iggy.
Yeah. So yeah. But kills him on an inside slant. But that inside slant is a lot closer than you think once you break in. So that ball comes out with a lot of speed. And in comparison, Jalen Hurts, he just relaxed a little bit, not realizing that it's Kenny Pickett. Now, that's what I think actually happened. Mm-hmm. He's not going to admit that at all, but I trust Devontae Smith. That was the most critical drop. But all of them, A.J. Brown had one over the middle on a deep cross. It was a little bit behind him. He dropped that. We had one on the sideline on the fourth. He dropped that one on third down. He dropped that one, and then Saquon as well. You got to credit the Commanders, though. They played through the whistle, and all of those plays, besides Devontae, the guys were able to get it out late. Mm-hmm. So, I thought the Devontae one was the backbreaker, but there was a lot of plays. Kenny Pickett missing the blitz, them getting penalties every time they got into the red zone. It stalls your drive every single time.
Yeah. I thought the Saquon one out of all of them was the toughest because he's a running back. It was a little bit behind him. Should have been. It wasn't led. It was thrown.
It wasn't the best throw. He got both hands on it. He had the ball. It's just that he has to realize that it's never that easy. Like, you got to secure the ball. It's never that easy. Guys are gonna Mikey Samerstill has won a lot of ball games for us doing the same thing. You know what I mean? At Michigan.
Yeah. One of our great viewers, Kai Q, viewer listener, has asked if you know if you consider the hit on Hurts late, and if the NFL has guidelines for what words can and can't be used in trash talking. So he's asking about CJ Gardner getting ejected, and then of course the I don't know if that hit was late because Jalen didn't fully commit to the slide the right way.
No, he didn't commit to the slide the right way, but you can't spike people. You can't spike guys. The guy's on the ground already, and you can't deliver a blow to the head that way. So I thought it should have been at least looked at because it definitely looked a little dirty and intentional. I want to hit a quarterback in that moment. Are people going to complain about it? Football players, nobody's going to complain about it. But again, if you're going to be as ticky-tacky as they were with the Milton Williams, roughing the passer, the Jalen Carter moving a guy away from his guy so he can get him up off the pile with less than a second, after the play wasn't even open. The play wasn't even over for a second. You know what I mean? So, and he gets an unsportsmanlike for that. So when you consider all of those things, yes, I think it should have been looked at, and it was definitely questionable. It was questionable. Okay, and then now, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as far as the trash talking, which
So here's the thing about this: the NFL guys have said the most ridiculous and outlandish stuff you can't say in any home or around any kid. I've heard the worst stuff ever, from stuff about my mom, my girlfriend. Whether it's gay stuff or straight stuff or whatever it is, it can be anything, right? The NFL it's not politically correct. So you're going to hear the most insane, the dude that's in the basement with no profile on the internet, right? You're going to hear all of that profane stuff that you get kicked off the internet for. You're going to hear that in the NFL, and it's just the truth.
Yep.
So for the referee to take it personally, because that's what happened. The referee heard it and it hit his emotions, not understanding what's going on the entire game. You heard this part of the conversation that's coming from Gardner-Johnson toward another player, and you took it personally. Like, to me, that's ridiculousness. And for it to happen twice, they were looking for what Gardner-Johnson did. No, for him to say something and get ejected, that's wrong.
Like, yeah, it feels like he's a marked man now, Jay, because he's got this reputation since New Orleans of being this guy.
Well, he's always been that way. He's been that way since college. He's always been a lightning rod and a guy that speaks a lot and trash talks and says outlandish things. The referee is not the referee's job to get into that. Their job is to be emotionless, right? And officiate the game at hand. If he's throwing hands or he hits someone late or whatever, them trash talking means nothing. What does that have to do with you?
Right.
These are grown men. This isn't kindergarten.
Right. Yeah, so you're saying for I think it was Sean Smith to have ejected him, CJ must have said something so over the top that he couldn't be emotionless about it.
The only thing that can get you ejected with saying something or get you personal fouls is usually homophobic things and or racial things. But he was talking to another black guy.
Who knows?
So like what? Like I don't know. I don't know. Those are the only things that the NFL would sit there and probably say, he can't say that. But other than that, like if he's talking about his mama or you, whatever it is, like let that go, man. He's all right. He's fine. This political correct society, man. Let those guys be. They're out there. They're having a good time. They live for it. They've been trash talking in the playgrounds their entire life. Trust me, you haven't. And you don't understand this, yet you're an official because you probably haven't been in that environment your entire life. You're coming into that environment, but you haven't been in that environment in entire life. So you just took it personally, like, man, that hurt my feelings. That's annoying.
All right. Well, while we're on the subject of defense, then let's switch to that. Let's talk about Terry McLaurin's touchdown. because it's rare that you see Quintin Mikell that far away from a receiver, but I feel like that there's more to that than just a guy not covering a receiver correctly. What did you see on that play?
Well, hold on. Let me get back because I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back 3 or 4 plays before that.
Okay.
The Braden man gets them inside of they stalled out a drive. The Eagles stalled out of the drive after a turnover. And Braden gets them inside the 10. The Commanders are like on the between a 4 and a 6. First down.
Mm-hmm.
They're in cut splits, meaning that they're in reduced splits, they're tight splits. De'Ami Brown's on Slay's side. Slay has they're in cover 4, and Slay is outside leverage. De'Ami Brown runs a go route. Slay is in great position. All he has to do is run with the receiver. He's on top of him and just cut him off, just like Isaiah Rodgers did at the end of that game in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
He runs and cuts him off. Darius Slay, when he turns and runs, looks up for the ball right away. And when you look up for the ball, your body goes where the ball, where you look up at. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You end up drifting. So he looks up and starts drifting inside, which leaves a clear lane for De'Ami Brown to catch a go route on him.
Mm-hmm.
That's technique, and you don't see that from a veteran player. You're already on top. You're actually playing 12 yards off of him, and you're playing against speed. Everyone knows that De'Ami Brown is a 4-3 flat type of guy or low 4-3 guy. You're playing against speed, so your thought process is that, all right, he's tight split. I'm thinking out route. I'm thinking across the field. Once those are eliminated, I'm thinking post or go. So let's get on my horse and let me stay on top. Don't make sense. Mm-hmm. All right. Quintin Mikell's play. Quintin knew that the blitz was coming. They had a pressure. They had a free runner. And was that Jalix Hunt in that play? I think it was Jalix Hunt. A Booker, but it was one of the two. They had a free runner, and a tackle feints at the outside guy and then picks up Bond, I believe, on a blitz, inside blitz. Jalix Hunt's feet get caught for just a second and didn't run through it, and that was just enough time for Terry McLaurin to get that pass off. So I don't really blame Quintin, because when you know that you have a blitz that you're going to have a free runner, you're expecting quick game. You're not expecting downtown.
Right.
But I will say this is that Jaden Daniels have shown that he does go downtown on blitzes. So I thought that he took a calculated risk, and unfortunately he lost in that moment. It wasn't something that was just pure coverage. It was him playing the odds. And guess what? And those odds were probably in the 80 percentile.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was playing the odds, and it was a smart play by him. Mm-hmm. And most people in the league would have gotten beat on that play because they would have played the same odds, that he has to get this ball out quicker, and he probably doesn't have time to put enough air under that ball to make that throw. And Jaden Daniels made a great throw and play. So you don't see that happening, but I understand why it did happen.
Gotcha. So I'm sure people wonder, what's that like in the corrections? Does the coach say to Q, not your fault, or does he say next time you have to, I guess, watch for a situation where this quarterback and this receiver will run that route against this blitz regardless? So file that one in your memory bank. Like,
Yeah, what I would think that the quarterback would say is that we probably taught you to flat foot read that, but you have to impede you have to impede his progress, right? Mm-hmm. So Quintin played inside a little bit too far. You want to play a half man or a quarter of a man down a guy's body, just in case it is a double move, so you have an opportunity to grab a hold or reroute. So I'm sure the quarterback or the cornerback's coach is going to say, hey, listen, you played inside a little bit too much and you didn't have a chance to recover once the guy went vertical on you. But if you play down the center a little bit more or half a man, now if he beats you with a double move and or go, you have enough hands to try to slow down his momentum to use your speed to catch back up. Quintin played so far inside but didn't have an opportunity to catch back up. So that's what I think the coaching point may be.
All right, got you on that. Red zone defense all year long. It's if you're going to find one little nitpick with the Eagles defense, they've given up a lot of low red zone touchdowns. And usually the guy they're targeting is CJGJ. And I think the first one he was involved with, but he gets kicked out of the game and they get a couple more. So I guess we can't blame it all on CJGJ. But I guess there's two ways to look at this, Jay. Like, one, we could say maybe there's an issue there with the communication. There's always a lot of motion. Or two, I bet if I looked at the percentage of red zone touchdown scored when the offense has the ball inside the 5, it's probably pretty high. I mean, it's difficult to defend. So do you see any though weakness? I mean, do you see a consistent weakness?
So that first touchdown to Jay was Jay Crowder on the inside seam. So the first touchdown was set up. They ran that play 3 times. It was a bubble. There was a bubble screen. They ran the bubble screen 3 times in the first couple of drives. So everyone was assuming bubble screen, and then he just went up the seam. Right. And yes, that play was on Gardner-Johnson. It was Gardner-Johnson's fault. Now, Cooper DeJean can reroute and help him out, but he was trying to get to the bubble screen because they ran it 3 times. I get that. But that's not even the safety's business, the bubble screen. It's not the safety's business at all. So Gardner-Johnson wasn't in position on that play. So that right there is one of those errors that can be corrected because it wasn't that they weren't in position. It's just that one guy got tricked out of his position, and it can be corrected if you look at it on the film and go over it.
Got it. All right. So do you consider, like, listen,
let's keep going.
Is this an issue for the team though? Like,
here's the thing though. Here's the thing. I'm gonna keep going. Let me get in my bag here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna so there was a touchdown by Olamide Zaccheaus on a corner route. I believe that was in the 4th quarter, maybe late 3rd quarter, but somewhere in there. They were in a cover 4. They had 3 people to the right side, meaning they were in trips. They had a tight end and a running backside, left side. So on a backside, away from the trips, if one of those guys stay in, the cornerback will take the guy if he goes vertical or out in cover 4. And if the other guy stays in, Reed Blankenship, who is backside, automatically looks to the trip side. He actually goes over to the trip side.
Right.
That ended up happening. So Reed played it perfectly, and he's looking up inside. Slay, because it's cover 4, and it's tight red zone, if anybody runs a hook in front of him or a short stop in front of him, he has to take it. The guy runs up, but he runs in like a slant. Slay clamps onto him, and it wasn't a hook route. It was an under route. Nakobe Dean is right there for the pass off. So Slay has to get back into his zone once he eliminates the hitch route. Right. All he had to do is eliminate the hitch route. He eliminated that, and now he has time to get back into his zone. He plays an underneath route, goes way out of his zone, and gives it up. So that play happens. That's another mental error.
Yep.
Quintin, young player, I understand it. Slay, get beat deep. Veteran player, give up a touchdown, same way.
Yeah.
So that's that play. Everybody else played it perfectly. Tristan McCollum was in the right place. It looked like he got beat. It wasn't him. Reed plastered his man because it wasn't even man. It was just that he went to the flat, and they needed a flat defender in that defense in the red zone, and he ended up doing it. Now let's get on the game-winning touchdown. Same concept. They had 3 people to the left side. They had Jay Crowder, had Zach Ertz, and had a receiver outside of them. They had 2 to the backside again. For some reason, they were in a red 6. The front side where Zach Bond is, they're in cover 2. The backside is in cover 4. The backside is supposed to play 3-over-2.
Mm-hmm.
The linebacker is supposed to be inside. He lines up outside. I don't know why. I don't know if it was called that way, but it's not good defensive scheme at all.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it's not good defensive scheme is because if that inside guy runs a slant or something like that, you're out of position and you're channeling it to the safety. You're bringing the safety up into a zone that voids him if there's a deep ball behind him.
Mm-hmm.
If Nakobe Dean plays the inside slant like he would if he was inside, now it frees up Tristan McCollum to look backside like Reed Blankenship does on the other play.
Mm-hmm.
So now he would be able to see Jay Crowder coming on the over route. And people are blaming Zach Bond. Zach Bond was basically the last line of defense on a fast break. He had Zach Ertz underneath him, and he had Jay Crowder over top of him, and he tried to play the difference.
Right.
But guess what? If Gardner-Johnson's in on that play, do I think he would have corrected Nakobe Dean and or been able to get there? He may have, because it was zone coverage and not man coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And it was clear, any fakes or anything. So I thought that play would have been probably defended a lot better if Gardner-Johnson's in there. I said a whole bunch right there. But all of these plays are sound, like you can correct it, but they've been good. This is the stuff we were talking about when they were 2-2 or last year.
Right.
We didn't talk about this for a long time, and it just in this game it happened, and I don't know why it happened.
Oh, the irony of CJGJ. Gives up touchdowns, but then you want him there to not give up touchdowns in the red zone.
Yeah, well, in certain situations, like if it's man-to-man, they're going to attack him. But and when it's a clear zone without any fakes or anything like that, he may have gotten that play.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing, too, about that. That was a terrible defensive call. A horrible call. You know why? It's 10 seconds left in the game. They spiked the ball with 10 seconds left in the game. Man, bring the damn house.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you want to come after him.
You can't sit back and play. You can't sit back and play coverage. Somebody's going to slip. Somebody's going to do something. And that play, you got two people open. You got Ertz open. You got Jay Crowder open.
Mm-hmm.
You bump them, and you make Terry McLaurin beat Quintin Mitchell. You make Terry McLaurin beat Darius Slay. You make the guys beat them, win it. You make them win it. And you bring the house and make sure that they contain it, but they're going to have a guy in his face. Put both of them at A-gap and center.
I feel confident Q would have said that as well, because him being a Jim Johnson player, Jim always brought the house in low red zone, third down scenarios like that, or game scenarios.
Dude, Spagnola, any and all defensive coordinators. Dan Quinn would have did the same thing. He was doing it anyway.
He was doing it.
Yeah. Everybody's doing that. That's the way the game is played. When the game is on the line, it's your best versus their best, and we lose, but we're going to lose swinging.
Right. All right, last defensive question, Jay. Did the Eagles get maybe a little bit of a taste of their own medicine in that how hard it is to defend Jalen Hurts? You can't rush the passer the same way. You can't you got to like mush rush or can't get north of the quarterback. And Jaden Daniels made a lot of plays and the Eagles D-line front four rush didn't really get home a whole lot. So I don't know if that was because it was Jaden or just it's not a very good offensive line. So what did you see? Yeah,
when the Eagles were able to play coverage and was assignment pure, the Commanders couldn't really do much with it.
Right.
That's why they're able to get up in the lead, but the difference is that when he began to run, he clearly was hurt the first game, and his speed caused us a lot of problems and over pursuing. So when you can, he has the type of speed that you feel when you run, and that's the thing. It's hard to see it on the tape, but he has the type of speed where when he's running, it looks like you have to change your angle in order to catch him. He has that Like he's moving. So he makes guys overreact in order to like the 4th and 11.
Mm-hmm.
So Milton Williams is perfect. They double team Jalen Carter. They
Mm-hmm.
have Jalen Hunt in the game. He got held on the left side. He got held. Nolan Smith runs around the left side. Probably shouldn't have did that. Probably should have ran to the depth and retrace. He didn't do that.
Yeah.
Jalen Hunt does that, but he gets held, so he can't get to the play. Milton Williams is the guy. He bull rushes, takes him all the way back, and at the end, he chooses right.
Mm.
And when you choose right, the guy runs straight up the middle. Yeah. You want to stay there in that position, in a 2-gap position. Now he can't go up the middle, and if he goes out, he's going to go left. And now what does that mean? He's horizontal. So now that gives your defense an extra 2 steps before he gets vertical again.
Right.
You know, and then after that, it was just tackling. Like a young mistake by Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean has a receiver in his way between Jaden Daniels and the ball. Or Jaden Daniels, he has a receiver in. You take that damn receiver and put him right in Jaden Daniels' lap. He goes and avoids him and like hops around him. I'm like, dude, it's the combat zone. In football, there's an avoidance zone. Like if a guy's way out of phase and you can run around the backside and get there, you don't want to be messing with a blocker if you don't have to. But when you're within 10 yards, that's the combat zone. Combat zone is that you have to go through people in order to make tackles. So I'm going to make the tackle with the defender or with the blocker. That's what you got to think. It's a receiver, you're a DB, you should be tougher and stronger than he is. And they didn't do that in the moment. Tristan McCollum just was so wild. Like I said, he felt the speed of Jaden Daniels and forgot where he was. Bond was in perfect position. The 2 young guys made the mistake in that and gave it up. So, yes, I think that his speed causes us problems. We can't play coverage the way we want to play coverage. Well, we can play coverage. It's just that if it's 3rd or 4th down, we have no man option. We don't have a serious pass rush because everybody has to mush rush.
Right.
So we're at like his beckoning call. He dictates a lot.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. He dictates a lot of coverages, a lot of things. And yes, it gives us a problem.
Yeah. All right. Hey, we'll finish it off with this. Special teams was a disaster. Okay. I don't know how much you want to get into it, but special teams was not up to par.
Well, let me tell you why. So when it's cold, the ball doesn't travel. It's been like that since the beginning of time, right? Just science, right? So the ball doesn't travel in the cold air, when whatever. So it doesn't travel. So now you get an opportunity to do something you haven't done all year, which is cover kicks. And when you're covering kicks, and this time, it's not about how fast you are because the guy's only 5 yards away from you.
Right.
Are you an ass kicker or not? Can you whoop somebody's ass in the phone booth? Our guys could not do that. And that's why Luke McCaffrey was able to get so many yards, because we lost the one-on-one battles in the phone booth. Because the way that the game is, the guy, you can't get enough speed in order to get momentum and use all of that to your advantage. That's the way kickoff used to be. Kickoff used to be about who was the fastest.
Right.
Now kickoff is about who's the strongest, who has the best leverage. Can you win a one-on-one matchup with not much like output? And our guys lost it because we got a bunch of speed guys out there and not enough ass kickers.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth.
Yeah, plus you don't have Ben Van Sumeren, who used to be really good at that anymore. Lost another guy. Well, Oren Burks was starting to play, so I don't know if he was
starting to play. Exactly.
Yeah, so he might have been a little winded. And then there was a third guy. Oh, Will Shipley went out after the first kick. He got a concussion, so you lost. A big piece.
So you have guys in there that may have not been in there, but but that was the problem with special teams, is that you need brute strength in that now. It's not it's not a speed game anymore. It's a brute strength game. And we lost that.
All right. Well, you lose the game. So, and that's what happened. I will let you, my friend. This is your show. I will let you sign it off the way you like.
Thank you for filling in. And to my man Q, sorry about what's going to happen this upcoming week. Kid, I love you, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to you, to Jeff and Adam, everyone that's responsible inside the Birds. We appreciate all that you guys do, and continue to check us out insidethebirds@gmail.com. Send your questions to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you guys for everything that you do for us. Peace out. Go Birds. Beat the Cowboys.